I'm Yamino, the artist of Sister Claire, and I'm joined tonight by...
The one, the only, the incredible, the indelible Ash Barnes. I write the missing moments, and I help Yamino write the comic. We are also joined tonight by...
Sarah, resident rat wrangler.
Wrangling more than just rats these days. Are we not allowed to talk about that?
Oh, we can talk about it.
Okay. It's not safe for work or anything.
Rodent wrangler.
Yeah. You should tell them about the other rodents that you're wrangling.
So me and Elena went to the pet store, and they had a really nice stock of mice in. So I got 2 beautiful girl mice. And one of them turned out to be pregnant. So she had her babies a little while back, and now we have a beautiful cluster of tiny baby mice that have just opened up their eyes. And they're very cute. And if anyone is looking for a mouse in the North Carolina area, let me know, because I'm looking for homes for some of them.
Otherwise, they're going to be snake food, probably.
No.
Well, we're giving them back to the pet store, and there's no guarantee what they're going to do with them. So.
Yeah, they have, less expensive ones for snake food, and they'll put them in the more expensive pet bin. So.
Mm-hmm. But what if they run out of the regular mice? Let's not think about it.
How is everybody doing tonight?
Okay, this bodes really badly. It's lagging really, really bad. I can't even get one line drawn right now. I don't know why, because I've cleared a bunch of space on my computer, so.
And there's no other programs open?
No, there's literally nothing but Chrome and Photoshop open right now. I don't really know what's going on. Let me reopen it, shall I?
Yeah.
I'll try a different picture. Okay, so for this picture, it's Nib and adult Clementine side by side. What kind of expressions and everything are they doing? Presumably they're not just standing with their arms at their sides staring straight ahead.
Do you want me to pick a moment in the story?
Yeah. Or are they both looking out at something together? Oh, thank God it's letting me draw again.
Good.
I can have them both looking out towards something off screen.
I mean, they walk through Eden, so have you read this one?
No, this is one that I haven't had a chance to read yet. Yeah, I can have it they're walking through.
Yeah.
Are they happy?
I mean, at certain parts in
Okay.
it, yeah, so.
I'll draw them happy. And Nib is taller than Clementine, right?
Everyone is taller than Clementine,
Yeah,
essentially. Just remember, she's got the gigantic horns, so.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, so Nib is going to have to actually move over here. Nib's going to have to give her a wider berth. Oh, I get to open my 3D program to trace her horns again.
That's fun.
Yay!
Yeah, Laura says they could be looking at each other and talking. Matt says, how are you guys doing tonight?
Doing aight. Today was my day off, and I got to do a lot of stuff I've had to put off for a while.
Today was Friday, so last day of the work week, which is always wonderful. And we planted some things tonight.
Mm-hmm.
We planted basil and mint and sweet peas and poppies and carnations.
And Cosmos.
And cosmos.
So that's exciting.
Yeah.
I just looked up and saw the clock in our kitchen tick backwards.
What?
Yeah, sometimes it misses a tick and sometimes it ticks backwards.
It's fine.
It's a good thing we're just using it for the Mickey Mouse aesthetic and not because we actually need it.
But the time is actually correct.
What?
How does it manage to... Okay, whatever. You know, that's fine. Everything's fine. Thank you for asking, Matt. Whose computer is that?
Mine. My computer is dying. It's like trying to take off like an airplane right now. Let me quit the 3D program.
Proxy asks, did you guys see my Sister Claire band mashup? I have not seen it yet.
Yeah, you did.
Oh,
I showed it to you.
It's the one with Rosie and Marie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah!
It was the one that I didn't really understand.
What band is it?
You'll have to forgive us, Proxy, we're not as cultured as you.
It was like sex nuns or something. I didn't know that it was a band crossover, so I looked at it, I was like, oh, that's interesting.
I thought it was cool, and like I could tell it was from something, but I don't know the reference.
Yeah, it looked like a reference that was going completely over my head, which yeah, it was.
Ding, ding, ding.
This is also like not adult nib, right? It's not her adult design, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, she's...
It's not like how she looks in the comic now, though, right?
No.
She's not like weary and
no.
traveled out.
No, I mean, this is at a point in the timeline when Eden is still standing and everyone that she loves is still alive.
Mm-hmm.
So, now how did I mess that up? But I did, didn't I? I'm so gay I can't even cut a straight line. Alas.
Buttons.
Would she look like this, or is even this too old?
That's a bit too old. She could have that long hair.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think.
Or maybe in between that.
Yeah.
And what she usually has in the missing months.
Mm-hmm. That's crooked. That's going to drive me nuts. Artsy MK says, does Nib always have a pupper? You know, her dog is supposed to have a name, and I can never remember the dog's name.
Spot.
No. Oh, I feel irritated that I can't remember her name.
Ooh, that's pretty.
Yeah. But she does have the dog with her pretty constantly. I'm trying to remember if I have implied... it's funny that you ask this question, Artsy, because literally 2 nights ago, I was thinking about Nib's dog while I was wandering around Target. And I was trying to remember if in a previous live write I have implied that she just, has a dog with her all the time and it's, at any given point in the story, a different dog. Or if she has done some kind of magic to her dog such that it has an unnaturally long life. I can't remember. I know I haven't implied that part, but that seems like something Nib would do.
She gives it dog food made from puppy blood so that it will live forever.
Oh no, my stream.
Mm-hmm.
It disconnected us, Elena.
Cool.
Is it?
Yep, stream offline. Check back later.
Okay, I'll restart the stream. I'm not going to stop the recording, though.
No.
Yeah.
When we come back, you should tell people about your journaling adventures.
Crystal Claude says, "Hello, darkness, my old friend."
I'm getting really tired of all the issues with Picarto here.
At this point, I'm not sure if it's Picarto or our internet, but given that it also happens on campus, I wanted to try to use Twitch for the next live streams, but I didn't have time to test it.
Mm-hmm. Maybe for next one.
Yeah, I don't even actually know how to stream on Twitch yet. I feel like I've done it once before, but I was streaming a video game, not, which is what Twitch is mostly used for. Is it back? Can
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's back.
Cool.
Aw. BGB quoted Marigold about how it was so dark in here, Rosie, dark.
Oh no. I'm gonna cry.
My poor little shard children.
Children.
Tell them about your journaling.
Well, first, did everyone hear me when I was talking about Nib's dog? Because the thing is, I know it might inspire some giggles to think that Nib, would have done some magic on her dog to keep the dog alive an unnaturally long time. But think about what Nib lost. Like, she lost everything, everyone, and her home was just gone in a blink. And
so what's a little dark magic to keep your pet alive?
If your dog is the only thing tying you to
sanity.
No, but if your dog is the only thing tying you to what was, the happiest time of your life, wouldn't you try to preserve it as long as you could? Especially if it didn't cost the dog anything, like if it wasn't hurting the dog.
I feel like magic like that probably always costs somebody something, though.
Yeah, but if it was Nib herself.
Or if it was other dogs.
I don't think
coyotes. There's a coyote infestation. She just catches coyotes and sacrifices them for her pooch.
Interestingly enough, so here's some random trivia about the state in which Yamino and I live. So we live in North Carolina, and along the coast of North Carolina, we have a series of barrier islands called the Outer Banks. Now, one of the way stations to get from the mainland to the barrier islands is this city called Nag's Head. Now, Nag's Head apparently has an infestation of coyotes right now. And it was in the news today, like some local news that I happened to come across, that Nag's Head has employed this Rid Us of Coyotes program where they've essentially called in an expert to come exterminate a bunch of coyotes. And I happened across another, a figure that absolutely startled me. Apparently, hunters have killed over 7,000 coyotes in this state in this, last year alone. And it has done nothing to curb their numbers.
Wow.
Like, the population is so strong that it's like trying to thin deer. They can live anywhere and reproduce so quickly that, and of course I don't really like to think about coyotes being killed, but, they're also decimating local wildlife populations and ecosystems, really disrupting some very fragile balances that we've got going on here. And they're also threatening red wolves, which are a super endangered species of wolf that are endemic to various areas in the South, but particularly a certain swath of coastal plain here in North Carolina. And unfortunately, coyotes and red wolves look almost identical.
Yeah, when you first started talking about coyotes, Ash, I thought you were going to talk about the red wolf. Because I think North Carolina is actually the only place that they're native.
Really? Anymore?
Historically, they ranged from southeastern U.S., from Pennsylvania to Florida, but I think now they only live in North Carolina.
Well, that makes it even worse,
Yeah, but they're actually a hybrid between coyotes and gray wolves.
Yeah, but, like, anymore, the coyotes are diluting the red wolf blood, and it's because coyotes can breed with pretty much anything, and so often because you've got more and more hybrids that are muddying up the gene pool of red wolves, it gets really hard to argue for, protection programs for red wolves when they just look indiscernible from coyotes. Among a lot of other troubling things.
Something else that really distressed me that you were talking about when we were talking about this earlier is that the coyotes are also killing people's pets, as people are taking them on walks. They're not even scared of the people that are with their dogs, that's pretty bold. If they're, attacking in packs in broad daylight in front of people, that's pretty bad.
You never know there's so many coyotes here, living in our neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. I actually...
Even in the country, I only see them rarely.
See, where I'm from,
we saw some right next to your house.
Yeah. Where I'm from in North Carolina, it's a lot more rural than where we live now. And the coyotes are super common there. And sometimes they would go right under my mom and dad's window before we had a fence in the backyard. And they would just gibber and howl. And it's really terrible. Okay.
Is it gibber or gibber? I always thought it was gibber.
Gibber.
Okay, Jod.
It's gibber.
Like gibbon.
To be honest, I think that you can use it whichever way you really want to. I think...
I've literally never heard
It's just gibberish.
I've never heard someone say that word before, so you're the authority.
You know what, though? I think, Elena, you might actually be right. I think it might be gibber.
Gibberish.
But, gibberish is spelled with... Is it spelled with a G?
With a G.
Yeah. But when you see the word jibber jabber, it's spelled with a J.
What? No.
Yeah.
No, it is. Yeah.
It is. So I've always read the word, that starts with the G as gibbered. And you know what? Who knows?
Doesn't dictionary.com have a read out loud option?
Gibberish, alternatively gibberish with the J, jibber jabber or gobbledygook, is a language that is nonsense.
Yeah. Okay, you know what? So
alternatively gobbledygook.
Alternatively
Babadook.
Alternatively, screw you!
Bibbidi bobbidi boo.
But so... What was I talking about before we got derailed?
Coyotes. Oops, I gave Nib Cog's hat by accident.
Oh,
I was like, this looks unfamiliar. Oh, sorry.
Okay, I was talking about coyotes, but... so before my mom and dad had a fence in their backyard, the coyotes would tend to gather, right under one of their bedroom windows and just howl and gibber, and it was ridiculous. But imagine, imagine me... a much younger Ash, 15, chilling in front of the computer in either my bedroom or the family room, and it's the dead silence of night. nothing in the house or around the house is stirring, and then all of a sudden this like satanic chorus of howling, yipping, yappering voices just sounds from the backyard and surrounding the house. And like, it got to be the coyotes were so prevalent around where my parents lived that at the time they had a Chihuahua, and they were like, don't let Shadow out in the front yard at night without being on a leash. And I was like, why? Because, you know, she was old. She didn't go anywhere. She went out, peed, and came right back. But my mom was like, because, honey, if a coyote grabs her and you're holding the leash, at least you could try to yank her back. And I was like, if a coyote tries to steal this Chihuahua, I am going to, like just
drop the leash and run.
No, I was like,
destroy that coyote.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna punch that coyote in the jaw if I can get close enough to it. But like, I saw them sometimes like running through the fields behind now just my mom's house. And Elena and I saw some on a visit a few years ago. We were driving through this like sort of vacant area down a dirt road, and we saw,
as you do,
and we saw, we thought at first they were puppies.
They were
puppies.
Of a kind.
They were puppies, but we thought, like, you know,
oh, puppies.
Yeah, and then we realized,
oh, kitty kept snuggles with mama.
Yeah, that's my favorite commercial in the world. But no. So we saw these little puppies running around, and we're like, oh my god, puppies! And then we realized,
coyote puppies!
Coyote puppies!
Wow.
Shit.
Did you go up to them?
Hell no. We stayed in the car.
Yeah. I don't, like...
I wouldn't put it past you guys.
You know, we do have some common sense. Not a ton, but some. You know.
I mean, I don't know if I would have known that they were coyote puppies if I was alone, although I would not be so dumb as to travel, like, some middle-of-nowhere back road abandoned lot in, you know, Hicksville, North Carolina, where there are wild coyotes. But, like, if I had seen them just me, I would have thought, oh, some wild puppies. I still probably wouldn't have approached them because, you know, even if it was just a feral dog, you don't want to mess with that.
I saw a picture, and I don't know if it was real or not, but it was funny. And it looks like it was taken in somebody's bathroom in their house with, like, old granny tiles and flowers around. And it was a picture, the caption was, found someone's missing cat covered in mud.
Oh, yeah.
I took it in to give it a bath. I'm in Florida. The picture was of a soaking wet puma just chilling in a bathtub.
I want to know how it's probably at a rescue center.
Yeah, it has to be at a rescue, but that's really funny.
But I would like to believe.
Elena, there's a question for you, actually.
Oh.
So, when did you attend your first Comic-Con when you began Sister Claire? What did you sell, and did you have to provide tax information?
No, because it was a very informal kind of event. It was in Belgium, and I was invited there by a guy who runs these a lot. I'm trying to remember how I met him. Oh, it's because I went to a different book signing for a comic, or for a couple different comic artists when I was in Brussels, my first year that I moved there. And he was there, and I talked to him, and I said, oh, I do comics also. I don't have a book yet, but this is what I've been working on. And he liked Sister Claire, like, just that the style was so different from what they're used to and everything, and that I was a young girl and not some crusty middle-aged man. Not that there's anything wrong with being crusty and middle-aged man, but, you know, all of the comic artists in Europe tend to look very similar.
Yeah.
And so I was very exotic, American young girl working on manga-ish things, and so he was excited to get me at his next event, and he just asked me for some artwork to print, and then he magically found this like really super high quality printer that he uses for these events, and he brought these like really nice matte cardstock printouts of my artwork, and I sold that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really great.
And what really blew my mind, it's so different from American comic conventions because, like, I think I've probably talked about this before in these live draws, but European comic conventions is usually limited to, like, maybe maximum 3 or 4 artists. And everybody comes there specifically to buy your book and then have you sign it and do a dédicace which is like, it literally means dedication, but what they want is like a sketch. And some artists really get into it and they like watercolor it too, like limited watercolor, but still it's like a little personal work of art. And I was really blown away that all of the people who came, when they saw me, they also got in line to get stuff from me, even though they'd never heard of me before.
Mm-hmm.
It was not like a comic convention here where you have to hawk your goods like somebody at a state fair. Like, people saw me and they were like, oh, American. Oh, I've never heard of this. Oh, that's cool. I'll buy whatever she's got. And they bought like my Avatar fan art, probably not even knowing what Avatar was. And like somebody for a local newspaper interviewed me, and I felt like such a celebrity. They also provide your meals while you're there. Like, they gave me lunch and dinner, and they offered me wine while I was there. I was like, oh, no, thank you.
Go be an artist in your vegan.
Yeah, I miss it sometimes. I miss like what a celebrity you feel like when you're a comic artist in Brussels, because they super admire comic creators there on a level that I don't really know what to compare it to here.
For Artsy, who asked, if you're interested in what we typically sell at American conventions, I can speak to that.
Yes.
We normally sell 8.5 by 11 and 11 by, 17?
Mm-hmm.
11 by 17 prints. Some Sister Claire stuff. Elena also usually does some fan art. And here lately, the past couple years especially, it's been mostly Steven Universe stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to not go to very many conventions because, unlike a lot of people who go to conventions on the regular, we don't have a lot of merchandise. In the past, we have sold, to give you some ideas, postcard sets.
Acrylic charms.
We have sold, of course, books.
Mm-hmm. Those are always our biggest seller when we have them.
Yeah. Books are by far the biggest seller, though it astonished me at FlameCon how well those little...
those Centaur postcards.
They just flew off our table.
And I don't think that postcards always do sell that well, but I think that idea just in particular is something we should really work on, because just it sells itself because of the visual appeal of it.
Yeah. Something else I'd like to mention is that getting into conventions is... like, just getting in general doesn't tend to be a huge endeavor, I don't think. But once you're there, some things that you should think about, before you get there, like, in terms of merchandise, sometimes you really have to invest a lot of money to get stuff. Because, like, stickers, buttons...
the acrylic charms were quite a big gamble.
Yeah. Because,
like, they cost, I don't know... They cost a certain amount to make, and then you have to try to price it in a way that people don't think that it's too much for a small charm. Because people don't know, what the production costs are for indie creators. They don't realize that something that can be sold for 50 cents from a major retailer could cost you, $5.
Yeah. Something else I'll say, too, is that sometimes you have to invest in things in bulk, and then you get the stuff, and what if the thing isn't super popular, then you're stuck with a bunch of an item that you can't move.
That's when you do blind grab bags.
Yeah. Yamino also tends to make a decent amount doing commissions on the spot. That's if she's feeling up to doing them. Like, something, too, that you should keep in mind, Artsy, when you go to conventions is that unless you take someone with you, and even then, like, leaving your table for long periods is bad for business, because people, like, if you put a sign up and say back later or something, people are gonna just, of course, pass right by. You'll lose out on sales, but it makes it hard to go to the bathroom or to look at any of the other cool stuff that's going on.
Food.
Yeah, get food. Lines at conventions are so long to get food. Like, packing snacks and stuff will save you. Don't
even like
skimp.
a little picnic lunch if you can.
Yeah. Do your best to take food in with you.
And if you want to make friends fast, bring food for other people.
Something that I think we've gathered a reputation for is usually at least one day at a con, and we're not saying do this. This is just something that we like to do. there's a lot of solidarity in artist alleys, and artists tend to try to watch out for other artists, try to make friends with the people surrounding you. If someone is doing something that annoys you, chances are if you just talk to them about it, they'll stop doing it, or they'll do their best to fix it. And if there's something that you need, like a pair of scissors, that's something we seem to always forget or misplace. And I cannot tell you how many times other wonderful artists have swooped in to save us by lending us scissors or something. Fishing line, tape, anything to put your display together.
That said, don't rely on it, but
No. But what we like to do, at least one of the days we're there, we like to bring donuts in the morning. It doesn't cost us much. We will buy like 3 dozen donuts, and that might cost us between $20 and $30, but it's really nice to see everyone's face light up and spreading goodwill among a bunch of people who are crowded into a confined area for 3 days can only serve you well.
I can tell that it's so rare for people to do that, though, that some people have looked very suspicious at first when I bring donuts. They think that I want to trade them for something, and I'm like, no, do you want a donut? And they're like, what? No. And I'm like, I don't want anything. I want to give you a donut.
Yeah.
But some people, they just can't be persuaded that there's not some catch to free donuts.
Mm-hmm. Artsy is saying that she's interested in doing it in Korea. Worried about the language barrier, but she figured food and being friendly will help. Definitely will. South Korea is very big about paperwork, so I may not legally be allowed. Her husband is definitely going, and a 10-year-old who is super supportive of her art. Well, that's wonderful.
Mm.
I hope you do get to go. Most of the time, our con experiences have been really positive.
Mm.
Of course.
Is this her first con, and she's going to Korea? Okay, that's...
No, she lives in Korea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's not just going to Korea
I was
to do
that's
a con.
such a long way for a first convention.
Yeah. For us, cons have been largely positive experiences, even if we didn't make, the metric shit ton of money such that we can, put it all in a vault and then dive into it like Scrooge McDuck. That has in fact never happened. But most of the time we have been fortunate enough to at least break even, and you get to meet a lot of cool people, see a lot of really awesome cosplay, and if you're lucky, you get to meet fans of your work, or you get to see people become fans of your work right in front of you, which is an experience, let me tell you.
Mm-hmm. The only time I don't like that is when they're becoming fans by standing there and reading the entire book in one go, and then they say, oh, that's pretty good, and they put it down and walk away, and it's like, get out of my store!
Yeah, true. True. There will be frustrating experiences, of course, but I hope you have a really good time. We have always been fortunate enough to have a good time when we've gone.
Even with the inevitable, really socially inept, super rude people who will, come and, there's always some of those people at a convention, but
of course
we often have, way more positive than negative to remember about it.
Oh, yeah.
I think, can I talk about some of my con peeves? What not to do if you are visiting a comic convention.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing.
Here are some things to absolutely never do because they are a surefire way to piss off a person that you are trying to appreciate at a convention. Do not bring your food to the table and set it on their stuff. Don't ever do that.
You would think this would be a no-brainer, and yet.
And yet. We've had people who have not only come in, or not even food, anything. Don't just set your bags on people's display. We have very limited space, so we have to use the entire table, and it's not there to be used as your personal countertop.
Yeah.
And I think most people do it because they're trying to browse with 2 hands, but you can set your things on the ground.
On the floor.
On people's merchandise.
Yeah.
And worst case, you can put this isn't worst case, but, if you have a bag of stuff or anything, put it on the floor down between your feet. And if your cosplay for some reason prevents you from doing this, there is no shame in asking the person behind the table, hey, I'd like to look at your stuff. Can you hold this for a second?
Yeah, we'd be happy to.
Most of the time, yeah, we'll be delighted to hold your stuff. And it's not like we're going to steal it and run away. We're trapped behind a giant table and lots of banners and stuff. It is going to be perilous for us to try to run away and be thieves, like at the start of Aladdin. But it is really aggravating to be sitting there and you have all your stuff nicely arranged and then someone comes and smears their greasy Nando's like all over it.
Because, yeah, like that's the worst when they actually destroy your merchandise by doing that. Most of the time what they do is just like shift everything into an ugly mess. After I've spent, 30 seconds, because I have nothing better to do, like very gracefully arranging our business cards into a pleasing flower shape, and then someone comes and just like throws their Sailor Moon body pillow on top of it and like it takes everything I have not to just like jump across the table like a feral creature and attack them.
And her giant dango just knock over all your business cards.
Yeah, but like Odango.
Odango.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, the body pillows don't usually have like actual odongos attached to them. But yeah, so that I think might be my number one peeve, but there are a lot of other ones which I shall get into. I really don't appreciate it when somebody comes and, like I said, they look through all of your merchandise, like thumb through an entire book and read the entire thing. They'll stand there at the table for like 15 minutes, read the entire book and be like, and then they'll just put it down and walk away.
This isn't a library.
Yeah.
And it's not a bookstore. Also, our comic is free to read online. Okay?
Don't block the table reading it at the table.
Yeah. This is a place of business where there's a lot of foot traffic that you really have to think about. So, if you're interested in examining the art more, because our comic is free to read online, it's easy to go browse it on the website, and then if you really like it, come back and buy a book and support us, but please don't block our table for half an hour.
Another thing, this is something that I really hate to bring up in person when it happens, because it's usually people who are big fans who do this. And I know that people come to conventions to talk to artists they admire. Sometimes they come because they just want to meet somebody, not necessarily to buy things, and that's great. But the time that we're selling is not a time to have long, extended conversations with us in front of our merchandise, because standing there for a long time is blocking our table, so it's making us lose money, and we're not able to communicate with people who are buying things. Yeah. We're working. It's not a time to have, a 20-minute conversation about your favorite chapter of the thing. Even though we would love to do that, that's what this is for.
And sometimes
that's what live draws and stuff are for.
Yeah. And often at conventions, we also have meetups and stuff where people can, in fact, talk to us to their heart's content. And if you're a fan who really wants to talk to us, you can email us in advance. Mm-hmm. Tell us, chances are one of us can make a specific time just for you or for you and some friends. But standing in front of our table to try to have this big conference about Sister Claire or tropes in comics that we really like, sometimes we're also bad for this, getting sucked into discussions like this, and then we realize that an hour and a half has gone by and we haven't made any sales because we're focusing on talking to people. We really love talking to you, but during con hours it's not always that feasible.
And the thing that I really can't stand is when people who don't even know us come and they just want to talk about some random thing, and it has nothing to do with what we're selling, nothing to do with Sister Claire. It's usually guys with giant beards who do this. There's definitely a type. They often are swathed in convention badges too. They wear them like little trophies, but we've had guys come up like that who are flip through things kind of half-heartedly and go oh, I see that you did a fan art of this thing. I'm not a really big fan of the voice actress who voices that character. And they go into this long, one-sided conversation with themselves about some random thing. And they'll stay there for, I think I clocked one guy there for like an hour, and I could not get rid of him. And like there were customers trying to like peer around him to look at the stuff he was blocking, and I eventually have to say like, "Excuse me, could you move to the side because there's people trying to look at my things and you're blocking it."
Laura is mentioning. She says, "Oh my God, it was that guy, Ash. Right, you know that guy in New York? Yeah." When we were trying to have a meetup at Kinokuniya in New York last month, Laura and I were there, Sephi was there, Matt, a bunch of people, and before like the lion's share of people showed up, this guy who was just randomly working on comics at Kinokuniya started talking to us, and he kept interrupting us over the next, like, it was almost an hour and a half, and he just would not shut up, and I felt like I was stuck between a rock and a hard place, because on one hand, I try to be nice to people in public, especially in front of, a lot of fans and stuff. I'm like, okay, don't turn into a vicious rage monster in front of all these people,
Don't go into beast mode. Don't go into beast mode. Don't go into beast mode.
Yeah, but like, at one point, I feel like everyone at the table was really starting to get aggravated, though, and everyone, I think, could also tell the moment when it became just enough for me, because he was talking about composition, music composition, and conducting and stuff, and he was trying to say, like, that he was really interested in getting into composition and conducting, and he found out, like, that I had done it. He asked me if I had any experience with it, and I was like, yes, I have. I should have just kept my mouth shut and been like, what's that?
No, because then he would mansplain it to you. There's
true.
no winning.
Yeah.
Either you know something about it, but he knows more than you do, or
Yeah.
you don't know anything about it, and he gets to fill your empty little woman brain with all of his facts.
Yeah, but he was telling me how he was really interested in getting into it, and I was like, yeah, that's great. And he was asking me why I hadn't continued with it, and I was like, well, it's really hard for a woman to break into the industry, and, I wasn't super interested in going down that career path and struggling forever, therefore I stopped. And he went on this, like, 2-minute spiel about how I should really pick it up again, and, if I wasn't going to blaze a path, then who was, and all this, and I felt my pleasant facade crumbling, and I was about to be like, I know more than you about this, and I'm about to drop kick you into the sun. Could you just stop? Like, and I, urged him away at that point, but it was, whew. Yeah. Matt says, Ash, your nostrils were flaring so much. Were they really?
I can imagine it.
I was so upset at that point, because all I could think about, like, breaking into the industry as a female conductor or composer is really, really difficult. All I could think about was my senior year recital at UNC that I had slaved over for months, like all these arrangements and stuff, music that I had written myself, some music that was being used by the university as a whole. Like, it was good. I was good. I got a scholarship to UNC to play oboe, for God's sake. Like, I was good. And no one came. No one came. And it was like, it was really hard, too, for me to get auditions at local symphonies just because I was a girl. Like, they didn't want an oboist who was a girl for some reason. I could never really fathom this. I was really only able to get a chair in any kind of orchestra ever if I did a blind audition, like if they could not see me or hear my voice. Like, it was ridiculous.
I remember reading an experiment about that where they tried doing blind auditions for orchestras to see if it would result in more women being hired, and at first it didn't.
Yeah, and I know
But then
why.
they did it again with a carpet, and when they couldn't hear the women's heels, then they started hiring them more.
Mm-hmm. I started... So, Artsy, yes, please send us an email. We would be happy to reply to you. But I started really using Ash as my official name on a lot of documents. when I was auditioning for, like, local orchestras, symphonies, insert thing here, because Ash is a lot more gender neutral than Ashley. It's, at least here in the South it is. And everyone would assume that I was a guy. When it came time to do conducting, like, for my junior and senior year, part of my program, I had to get in with a lot of local musical organizations and conduct. And it was really hard to get them to give me the time of day if they thought I was a girl. When they thought I was a guy, there were several occasions when I would show up to conduct an event, and they would be like, "Where is he? He's late." And I'm like, "Who's he? I've been here for 20 minutes. And they're like, "Are you Ash?" And I'm like, "I'm standing here in my maestra outfit with my baton. Yes."
No, I'm just cosplaying.
I'm like, "Yes, I'm Ash. Let me up there." We're damn ridiculous. Anyway. So enough of me ranting about composition and shit like that. There is a reason I didn't pursue that as my career, and I really did not appreciate some random a-hole, telling me that I should have done a different thing.
You could change the world, just drop your whole life in it.
Yeah.
No big deal.
He also kept saying, I forget his phrasing, Laura might remember what exactly he said, but something like, continue making your business a success or something. And it was like, it sounded very condescending. He was not, I think he was trying to be a very nice and, like, socially energetic person, but what he was coming off as was douche. If you're listening right now, buddy, you irritated me. You really did. There's an ad for Big Boomers in here. Oh, their font is terrible.
No.
It's hard to read. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Big Bloomers, hire me to be your consultant. Your visual consultant.
It's down at the bottom of this page.
Oh, no.
It looks a lot like the
Graphic
inside.
design is my passion.
Oh no! Look at that disgusting
The
picture.
stretched clip art.
I know.
Oh,
It's so stretched you can
that's
barely
like
tell what it is.
painful to look at.
Yeah.
Please hire me, Big Bloomers. Even
Those
if they
flowers speak.
they can pay me in money and flowers.
Laura says, he was nice in a really weird way, too. Because when he heard I was the editor of the comic, he offered to put me in connection with people he knew in the comic industry. And I was like, dude, I'm a psychologist from Brazil. Yeah, he would not leave Laura alone. He was like, hey, would you like some contacts at Marvel? And
It's because he was desperate to be seen as useful and important.
Yeah.
And when you say, oh, actually, thanks, I don't need it, it really upsets people like that.
yeah.
Also because Laura's a cute girl and these kinds of things happen. Today I was at Goodwill, like, crouching on the floor. There was a...
I'm sorry, I just had this mental image of you.
Taking a dump.
No, I just imagine you trawling through the aisles at Goodwill like a little feral goblin.
Yeah, today I crawled under the dress display to scare older women. No,
I like hiding there and grabbing their ankles as they walk by.
at Goodwill, they've got all these, like, rows and rows of donated clothes that are hung up on hangers that are very easy to look through. And then they've also got these giant wooden bins of, like, exercise shorts or underwear or accessories. And
Lingerie.
it's impossible to rip through the pile. Like, it's very hard to find anything in there.
I am so sorry.
Jesus Christ.
I am so sorry. I was looking for that, and then I just threw it on the ground, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Scared me, scared Sandra, scared the puppies.
Sorry. Very sorry.
This is weird. But, yeah, I was trying to rummage through one of those bins for ties, and then I found there's, like, a plastic bin underneath. So I was, like, squatting on the ground in this plastic bin, like, ripping all these ties out and organizing them on the floor.
Uh-huh.
And this dad walks over to me, and he's like, any luck with the ties today? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, sometimes it's hit or miss. And he talks to me, like, I don't know, like 3 separate times he initiated saying something after a pause. He was like, "So what are you using those ties for?" And
God.
yeah, it was. So if I see any, I'll point them out to you. And I was like, okay, stop.
Yeah.
Wait, I was concentrating on what I was drawing when you said, like, what? Describe this guy again? Did he work there?
No, he was a handsome, studly, white dad. That was, I don't know. It felt like he was trying to hit on me, and it was making me uncomfortable.
That's nasty. Ugh. Especially since you look very young. Probably his daughter's age.
No, he had a boy child that was there who was like 6.
Oh, okay.
Oh, people are wondering who's Sandra.
I just saw that.
Sandra's just secretly hiding. She's a new member of the team. She doesn't actually do anything. She's just kind of the mascot.
She's my sister that lives here, but she's a bitter bitch. She never comes to say
She's
hi.
mute.
So it's a family pun that has migrated into other parts of our life. So if you all have ever seen the movie Milo and Otis, or The Adventures of Milo and Otis.
No, that's not the Sandra that it's from.
Oh, it's not?
No, it's from it's from About Schmidt with
Oh, never mind. Oh,
Jack
you're right.
Nicholson. Yeah, but there's some part, I can't even remember the exact context, but I remember that Kathy Bates is in this scene and she's the one who says that line. Something happens and she is talking to her son and his fiancée Sandra and a bunch of other people, and she's saying, "God, you've embarrassed me, embarrassed him, embarrassed Sandra." And she said, "No, he's not." She's like, "You're embarrassing Sandra." And Sandra says, "No, he's not."
God.
Congratulations to you, Dwight.
Sarah and I have been binge watching The Office lately.
Ash hates.
Ash hates, but I love The Office because I love laughing at other people.
It is a show that makes me so angry. It just, sometimes I think there's a little bit too real of a connection between what I see on the screen and what happens at my workplace.
I think it's way less funny for people who actually work in an office with like a crappy boss and all.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, as somebody who works from home and has never been in that situation, I think it's hilarious.
Angrily Cuts magazine.
I also do not have this experience that both you and Sarah have mentioned having, where you feel like secondhand embarrassment for people on the screen. I just revel in mocking dumb people on the screen. I'm like, ha ha, he got what he deserved.
Yeah, I don't really feel secondhand embarrassment for the people on The Office. I think, to me, it's so disgusting and petty, so many of the conflicts that go on there, and it makes me feel like the people's lives are reduced to this ridiculous garbage that happens on screen, and I can't stand it.
But they're like, real people whose lives are ridiculous, petty garbage, Ash.
But I don't want to watch a TV show about them.
Well, my life is ridiculous and petty, and I want to see it on the screen.
Your life is not ridiculous and petty.
But I wish it was, so I'm living vicariously through The Office.
By virtue of being queer, your life isn't petty. That's a culture of the streets.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I know some pretty petty-ass gay people. Most of them are not women, though. I keep wanting to draw Cog's hat. Nib's hat's gonna look so weird on a character with no ears.
It's
Does she have little holes? Or dimples?
Yeah, she's got little holes.
She's got like little belly buttons for ears.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And they're innies.
And they're what?
Innies.
Good. Elena told me she's never seen an outie belly button.
Never in my life. Never have I ever seen an outie belly button.
Yeah, that's what I was like, Ash. No, they're not common.
I mean, how many belly buttons do you guys look at?
A lot at the beach. Like,
I thought you were about to say a lot at work, and I was like,
I'm like everyone's belly button at the beach.
no, but I mean, I have a cousin, like, who has an outie belly button, and I remember as a child thinking it was odd, and then going to the beach and seeing, like, hordes of people with them, and being like, oh, never mind, maybe I'm the odd one.
See, I guess at the beach I'm not looking at other people's belly buttons, I'm looking at whatever I'm building or whatever creature I am fishing out of the sea or sand.
It's
Yeah.
not so much to see.
Like, really, I'm also not paying a ton of attention to other people while I'm at the beach. Mostly I'm trying not to step on anything that's going to horrify me or tempt anything into biting or pinching me.
I remember the first time I saw an outie belly button, I was in 3rd grade, and I don't know why we were talking about it, but my classmates were talking about belly buttons, and this one dude was like, oh, I have an outie belly button. And he was like, look. And he showed us, and there it was. And that was that.
There it was.
I did not show off my belly button. I was in modest 3rd grade.
You were pretty modest up until we took you under our wing, and then
Thank
that
you.
changed really quickly. I'm just remembering that time at Starbucks.
Oh.
Explain that time at
What
Starbucks.
would you rather have?
Oh, let's not shame, body shame
Yeah.
publicly.
Let's not do it at all.
Yeah, let's not body shame at all, but especially not publicly
God.
in a recording. Wait, I
You're talking
wanted.
about that time at Starbucks.
Yeah, I wanted you to tell about that time at
Oh,
Starbucks.
well, I don't remember why, but Elena shimmied her shoulders to make her titties shake around, and then looked at Ash, and then Ash also did it, and then both of them
At the
turned and
same
looked
time,
at
we
me.
whipped our heads to look at Sarah, and she started to
I was wearing like a very low cut tank top that was very tight on me. And I started to do it too, and then I was like, oh my god, I'm so immodest right now, I can't. I'm embarrassed.
You didn't even start. You raised your arms and hunched your shoulders as if you were about to, and then you thought about it and looked around the crowded Starbucks and were like, nah.
Yeah.
And me and Ash were both like, come on! Well, mostly me.
You were both genuinely disappointed.
Yeah, we were both crestfallen, but I was very disappointed.
Crestfallen isn't quite the word I would use to describe my state of mind at the time.
The whole reason that I had shimmied in the first place was to give up Vivian to it. Flirting 101 with Yamino. Shimmy your boobs and see who else will follow.
That's how birds do it.
Is it?
Probably some birds.
They don't shimmy so much as they just inflate their chest like a creepy balloon, which you can do really well.
Elena and Ash, when they met me in the wintertime. And so...
On the internet, my name is Yamino, not Ellen.
Yamino and Ash. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
They met me in the wintertime. And so I was wearing, like, sweaters and, like, turtlenecks all the time. And Elena looked at, like, pictures that we had all taken together, and she always thought I was just, like, sticking out my chest really far and throwing my shoulders back.
I always thought, like, wow, Sarah looks like a chicken. like
a hen.
She's just got this giant breast area. Like, it doesn't even look like boobs. It just looks like it's inflated.
Like my giant torso sticking out.
Yeah, and I thought that's what you were doing, just like arcing your back as far as possible in every picture, and I didn't really understand. I thought, well, maybe she's insecure.
How did you realize otherwise?
Because you came over to our house one time, or I think you were staying over that time, and you were playing ukulele and you were wearing your pajama shirt, which was like the most revealing thing we had ever seen you in, and it was like, it wasn't like super low cut, but it was like,
Lower cut than winter sweaters.
Yeah, it wasn't like 4 layers of sweaters, and like your boobs like fell over the ukulele. And I was like, oh, okay.
I remember thinking at the time, like, just in utter shock, like, damn!
Yeah, like, I remember we were both, like, happily listening to you playing, like, some Jason Mraz song, and then we both, like, looked at you and went, oh! And then we both looked at each other like, oh!
I think I had to...
As you're blushing right now.
It was because I was so fucking shocked. And I was remembering, like, being like, I shouldn't look at this. I need to leave. And I remember leaving and going to my room. Like,
yeah, I remember you just walked away.
Yeah, I was like, I can't do this. I have to leave.
I couldn't believe that you just left me there alone with the titties. I was like,
Come back! This is something that a lot of people online might not know, but I'm actually quite shy, okay?
I'm very shy.
And I was just, like, when it comes to meeting people, I'm not shy. But when it comes to, like, you know, suddenly titty, I was like, no, opt out, no, you know. I was expecting a nice night of ukulele and, like, what were we doing?
Modesty.
ukulele and chill.
You know, ukulele and probably watching, you know, episodes of some cute show or something. Not, you know, that. So I just ran away.
I mean, it wasn't like, you know, that scandalous. It was just a surprise.
Well, that's when you realized I wasn't sticking my chest out really far in photos. It was just my chest sticking itself out.
God. The time of my shame. Okay.
Feel the shame rising.
Anyway, does anyone have any questions? I feel like I haven't asked. I haven't asked that tonight. I've been too preoccupied talking about coyotes and titties. You know, not the worst combo, but probably not the most expected one either. After all, this isn't fur affinity.
Oh, so. While you're waiting for questions, we could talk about our journaling a little bit. Like, tell them what you're doing right now.
Not sip the dog.
Yes, that's literally what I thought Sarah was doing. Duck tits, woo!
What did you want to talk about, Ellen?
About what you're doing right now.
Oh, I'm... So, last live draw, when I talked to everybody, I talked about doing bullet journaling. And I've really gotten into it lately. I like to use it not as, like... Some people like to use it as a daily agenda thing. And sometimes I do write to-do lists in mine. But mostly I use it to remember certain things that happened on certain days, like more like a mini scrapbook. And I like, Sarah has a little pocket printer that without ink prints these cute little Polaroid-esque pictures, and you use it with an app and stuff, and the paper is special in that you peel off the back of it and it's a sticker, so it's really easy to just and put it in a...
Can you do that again?
Yeah.
Closer to the microphone this time.
You can just slap it on a page and there it is. But I also really enjoy using other things to make my journal look pretty because I can't draw very well. I can draw a little bit, and I'll draw, like the other day when I was writing, I wrote an entry about how when Laura was here we went ice skating. Laura had never been ice skating because she is in fact from Brazil, where ice skating is not, you know, the national hobby. And she really wanted to try it, and I was writing about that, and I had this really cute picture of me and Laura that I stuck in there, and I really wanted something in the other corner, so I drew a pair of ice skates, and I was actually happy with how they came out. They looked really cute. And then on a different day, I was trying to draw a peach smoothie that I had, and let me just tell y'all, I can't draw a cup to save my life, especially if it's got one of those bubble lids on it. So
I thought it looked fine.
Well,
yeah, I don't know why Ash is being so modest because her art is actually very beautiful.
Well, thank you, but that one looked like a hot mess. So I just covered it up with something cute and didn't worry about it anymore. It really makes me feel better to do bullet journaling because I like having this chronicle of nice things. And I try not to put negative stuff in my journal either. Like, I have other, outlets for my stressful moments.
Screaming into pillows.
Actually talking with the people with whom, the issues are about and sorting them out. Like, I try to be pretty proactive about issues like that. Laura helps a lot. Elena, talking to you helps. And having family meetings and stuff, things like that, they all help. And I know I'm just an anxious bundle of nerves a lot. And Laura likes to say that you won't feel like this forever to make me feel better. And she's right, I won't. And sometimes I have to just know that I'm sad right now, or I'm upset, but I won't always be. So
I'm taking notes. I'm slipping that one away for next time. I'm stressed out.
It's like, but,
credits allowed.
I might feel like, I'm nothing but internally screaming forever into the void, but it's not going to be like that forever.
Yeah, that's something I tell myself too.
But in any case, what was I saying? Oh, but I really like bullet journaling because it's this like cute thing of positivity, and I like having this chronicle of events because my memory is not very good, and will doubtless get worse as time goes on. So it's nice to have that stuff and be able to look at it and feel it be tangible. It also encourages me to take pictures and stuff more when I'm out doing stuff so I can have it for later. Like, sometimes I'll take pictures just because something is pretty and I want to put it on my Instagram. But, like, last weekend I went to visit my grandma, and I had written in my journal, like, for a to-do list, I needed to get a selfie with Mima. Mima is 87, 88 years old. I don't remember which one, but she old, okay? Mm-hmm. And she's not going to be around forever, and I don't have a lot of pictures with her. I'm sure I could scrounge up tons of pictures of her that other people have taken, but with her, not really. So I took this really bad selfie with her, and then remembered one that I'd taken a year ago, and Laura still miraculously had it in her archives. Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much. And it was much cuter, and I was able to print it out and put it in my journal, and it makes me so happy whenever I look at it. So that, that's fun.
So this entire household is giving you a plug right now. Start bullet journaling or dot journaling or whatever you call it.
You can use it for all kinds of things. Like, I use it to remember things because I also have a really bad memory for, like, appointments. Anything that involves numbers or dates or times, I'm really notoriously bad at that. And it helps me a lot to write things down.
Elena, she doesn't look like the way you're drawing her right now. I think you should read the story, or at least the part, like the beginning of it.
I'm drawing her just like in this picture.
I know, but she's not supposed to look like that.
Okay, well, that's the picture Laura sent me for reference, so.
Yeah, that's because it's the only one you've ever done of Roshan, but, like, I don't think she's wearing a dress, and you've also made her really skinny. But bullet journaling, it's fun. I really enjoy it. Excuse me. There was something else I was going to mention about it. Oh, I really like getting pictures from other places too to, like, paste in there to serve as, like, borders or something, just a splash of color. And the other day I cannibalized a seed packet that I had bought these poppy seeds from Target because I thought that the flowers looked really cool. And then I opened the seed packet, poured all the seeds into a Ziploc bag, and used the packet in my journal because it was really cute. And it's just, I don't know, it's really fun. And maybe it won't appeal to a lot of people, or I don't know, obviously it does appeal to a lot of people because you can buy the journals in any Barnes & Noble or a lot of other places, but I really like it just because it's this catalog of nice things. And it's really colorful. Something else that I have discovered is that I can handwrite things really fast. when I write in cursive, which I had not done since high school, essentially. Or, well, no, I handwrote stuff in college, but I had some nerve damage to my hands. Like, that happened, I can't remember how many years ago now.
It was the year that I moved.
Okay, so like 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it really hard for me to grip things for long periods of time or to be very fine when I'm holding tools. But I've found a rhythm to writing in cursive in the journal where, like, I know exactly when I have to lift my pen to let my hand tremble. Just FYI, that's what I think about and use for reference whenever I'm writing about Mummel having shaky hands. There's a particular live write where she's cutting Sylvia's hair, I think, and her having to pause and stuff. Like, I have to do that all the time. And I think I'm good enough at it and subtle enough that most people don't even notice that I have hand issues, which makes me feel good. Until I drop something like, you know, the Scotch tape across the floor and it makes a loud skittery noise in front of the entire chat. I did not know you looked like that. Interesting. Does that say... sometimes I misread things, and I thought this magazine headline said, "The Big Tasty," and it didn't, which is disappointing to me.
That should be a restaurant name, The Big Tasty.
The Big Tasty.
I saw an advertisement on, like a big sign. It said, "It's your legacy, protect it." But I read it as, "It's your leggy, protect it."
It's your leggy.
It's your leggy.
Hey, does Rashawn have facial hair?
Mm-hmm.
Like proper, like mustache and things?
She doesn't have a mustache, no. But probably it's a lot more noticeable here. Like, I'm sure I'm sure she probably shaves pretty often, but as a much younger person, especially before being completely... She's pretty young here. She's in her, I would say late teens. And I think this is before, fully deciding on a ton of identity stuff. This live write takes place at 2 different periods, but once, most of it takes place as she and her family are arriving at... I did mention... Everyone knows where Mummel is from before Throne of Mare, right? Was I just about to spoil the shit out of something?
Do they know?
Do they know? And they know?
I don't know. I don't know.
Have I mentioned?
I don't believe you have. This is the problem with talking spoiler stuff with Lara all the time and forgetting who you've told these things to.
Well, no, I'm trying to remember if I mentioned it in the live write itself. Yeah, this looks weird.
I know, it's a lot lighter. See? It was just so I could see where it was.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm trying to, she may not honestly have that much facial hair. Enough time has passed since I wrote this live write that I don't still have the picture in my head of how she was supposed to look. If I reread it, I'm sure it would surface, but it's fine. Zach says we didn't know. Really? Does she not mention? I thought she mentioned it in this missing moment.
Have you read it?
The missing moment?
Live draw. Live write, I mean.
Well, I don't know if it's mentioned in this live write, but I can't.
Pretty sure it's never mentioned on, canon stuff.
I'm looking at the... Lara, are you there? Help me.
Brother!
I know she mentions her father. David. Hi, Winkle.
Play the Winkle. Winkle.
Oh, it is mentioned. I thought I had. Okay, so it's mentioned in that missing moment, Expira, exhale, that Maman, before she came to Throne of Mare, she lived at the colony, Throne of Mare's colony. She says, I was a refugee there, and I ended up a refugee here all over again. So she survived the fall of the colony, ended up in Throne of Mare, and, well, you know what eventually happened to Throne of Mare. Or actually, you don't quite know yet, but you will. But the beginning of the live rite takes place when they're arriving at the colony. So she's in her teens. Laura said, yes, sorry, what is needed? I was freaking out over a manga update.
Which manga?
Yeah, which manga?
I probably have not heard of it because I haven't been keeping up with any manga in like years and years, but...
Yeah. Otoyo Megatari. Oh, she says, you might remember it as the watermelon porn manga.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yes, I do indeed
I'm
recall
not familiar with the...
It's by the same artist that does Emma, right?
Yeah, and it's Kaoru Mori is her name. And it's more than for some weird... Oh, baby.
Awesome.
Winkle just
Her
tried
tail
to
is
jump.
firm.
She just tried to jump onto this high chair and didn't quite make it. But more than for watermelon porn, it's known for its extremely detailed outfits and props and backgrounds, which are painstakingly drawn based on like ancient Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
And in English, it's called A Bride's Tale.
Oh, I've seen pictures of this.
Yeah, I have.
I didn't know there was watermelon porn in it.
It's not really porn, but it's
I
like...
didn't know there was.
It's drawn in that very, like, drippy...
Oh, I see.
Like...
Seductively drawn watermelon.
Yeah, like, and it's meant as a metaphor for something else. It's very shekushi.
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 But I do like that comic a lot from what I've read.
No. This... I'm looking at a garden magazine, and it's got all these lovely pictures of gardens, but whoever chose this vomiting sun decoration...
Oh, God, I know.
That's horrible. Like, it's supposed to be a nice, like, pleasant fountain, but it looks like a sun is just going...
I've lived in Europe
constantly.
too long to find that weird. There's a lot of, like, fucked up fountains in Europe. You got, your peeing fountains, your vomiting fountains, your ejaculating fountains.
Oh, dear.
Your, like, fish vomiting fountains. Those are really popular when it has to do with Neptune.
Oh, yeah.
Just, like, these really creepy-looking fish just... they throw up at the sight of him.
Let me not make that noise ever again. This was a good purchase. Oh, but I'm sorry, were there any other questions? Or anything? We're just over here just chatting,
That's what people are here for.
I know. But I want to be sure to give people the opportunity to ask us questions if there are any. So, like, I I hope I don't inspire any ire to say this, but I really don't like alliteration.
It's just rhyming.
Yeah, it's just rhyming. Well, no, it's not alliteration. What is it called when you use vowels at the start?
Consonants.
Oh.
No!
Wait, sorry. I was busy drawing and not really listening to what I was saying.
Consonants? The opposite of a vowel is a consonant.
No, I wasn't saying consonants. I was using consonants like the adjective, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, there's alliteration.
Assonance.
Assonance.
There it is. Like, yeah, that's what I did. And rhyming. But in any case,
don't want to inspire any ire
in people by saying that one of my least favorite dogs like to look at are schnauzers, be them giant or miniature, or anywhere in between. I don't like their little mustaches. I don't like it. I don't really like any of those little dogs that have the mustaches. Most of the time they have really great personalities and they're so soft and sweet, and I like them as, I almost said as people, but the mustaches are always moist and discolored, and I don't like it.
My friend in high school had a little Shih Tzu who was very old, and her name was Gizmo, and she was cute. She had a little mustache kind of like that too, that was always kind of off-white and brown at the corners, and it goes over her upper lip. But then she slurps those hairs into her mouth. And so sometimes for fun, we would pull them out of her mouth.
Oh.
And then she would
God.
immediately slurp them back in.
That is so gross.
like Evie slurping her boogers back into
Stop. Please don't talk about that.
I want to tell that story. That is such a great one.
Can you imagine always having hairs just glued on the roof of your mouth?
That reminds me of my best friend in preschool in Italy who was always sucking on her own hair. Did you guys ever know girls like that growing up who had like long hair and they would just pull it into their mouth and then they always
toss their hair. Hey girls, you get a waft of dry spit.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a habit that some people have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, everyone has habits that, disgust other people at some points.
For sure, I know I do.
Whether they're, completely harmless or like actively digging your finger up your nose to mine for goodies. Which, why do people do that in their cars? Like, they act like you can't see them. There have been so many times I've been driving down I-40 and I'll turn my head and I'll see in someone else's car their finger is lodged in their nostril up to the second knuckle. And I can see everything. And then they turn and we lock eyes. And I'm like, okay. And I think
if you're going to have the brazen to do that, like, don't look around to see if anyone's watching.
Just do it. But you'd think once they realized, oh no, I've been caught out, they'd quit. But no, the finger does not descend from the nostril. It just goes on with its busy little work. And I'm up there in my car like, wow.
Okay, speaking of not wanting to inspire ire, I have a controversial opinion. I don't think that nose picking is any more gross than like getting chum out of your eye by wiping it and stuff. What's gross about nose picking is when you then like wipe it on something.
Yeah.
Like, I'm more upset when people put their chums places that I will have to interact with them. Like, I don't care if you're picking your nose in your car and you throw it out the window, but like, if you leave it on my carpet, we're gonna have a problem.
Oh my god.
But, like, I can't say anything about putting hair in my mouth or anything, because I know I did that not only as a kid, but just in general as a nervous person. I know I put all manner of things in my mouth that should not be in there. So often I'll catch myself, like, eating a paperclip or something, and I'm like, Ash, what the this does not go in your mouth.
Today at the gym, I was concentrating while I was trying to check off, like, the different... This is... Why you give me that lip?
I was just
I didn't, like, put a barbell in my mouth.
I'm, like, trying to imagine all the horrible sweat-soaked things.
No. It wasn't anything. It wasn't anything like that. But, like, I had taken a pen, like, from their... Planet Fitness has these little cups of their purple pens you can use, and I was checking off the exercises and the weights I had done and like marking how much weight each thing was so I would remember for next time. And while I was doing this, I caught myself like chewing really hard on the tip of the pen, and I was like, I was going to put this back after I was done with it. Guess it's mine now.
Do y'all want to know?
And then I wondered, like, has anybody else used it and put it back? Oh, no.
Do y'all want to know one of the times this happened to me, and there was, like, I was so anxious about it that I had to continue, even though I did realize midway through what I had done. So, when I was in high school, I got called up to the blackboard, as you see in old movies, anymore. I got called up to the blackboard to solve some kind of, I think it was stoichiometry. I don't remember, some equation.
You made that up.
What?
Stoichiometry?
Stoichiometry.
I've never heard of this in my life.
As a scientist, I have to do that garbage.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
It's a chemistry thing.
Yeah, but I was probably trying to do some stoichiometry or something. It probably was Miss Morris's class. Yeah, I think it was. But anyway, I was up there at the board, and like me and a couple of other people were doing these, and at one point I was tapping it against my lip, the piece of chalk, and then I just put it into my mouth. And it was not a small piece of chalk, but I couldn't just then spit it out in front of everyone.
Like the whole thing in your mouth?
Yeah, it was like about as long. It was a couple inches long.
But you just...
I just put the whole fucking thing in my mouth. And then I stood there and I was like gnawing on it thinking, this thing in my mouth tastes really bad. That's because it's chalk. It is blackboard chalk that how many people have put their hands all over, including Mrs. Morris, the chemistry teacher, like, who, for all I know, like,
and then did you like hand it wetly back to her when
no,
you were
Ellen,
done?
I did not. No, I did not.
Did you swallow it in shame?
So what I did was I picked up another piece of chalk and finished the problem, because in my state of panic over having chalk in my mouth, suddenly the answer and the steps to get there were clear. So I did that, and then I went back to my desk and sat down, and I had to let the chalk dissolve in my mouth.
God.
Because at no point could I discreetly take it out of my mouth. I had no tissue or anything. There wasn't a trash can.
Sleeve to...
I asked, I raised my hand, and at this point it had dissolved enough that I could kind of tuck it into my cheek, and I raised my hand and I begged Miss Morris to let me go to the bathroom. She would not let me leave. So I had to sit there with grody-ass chalk in my mouth.
You punished yourself. You didn't have to do that.
Yes, I know, but my alternative was
to... You could just made everyone...
Did you have an opening desk?
No. No, I didn't. It was just one of those tiny little...
See, I can't really imagine being in this situation, but if I did, I would, while I was sitting at my desk, spit it in my hand and then, drop it on the floor.
Yeah,
and then wipe your hand on your pants, and it's like it never happened.
No. This was white chalk, and all I could envision... all I could envision was spitting this into my hand and drool being, everywhere, and it being, chalk-colored, and then if I tried to drop it on the floor or something, more drool spattering everywhere.
Keep your jokes to yourself, Ash.
It was just not a good situation. Anyway.
When I was in 3rd grade, I was chewing on a purple pen one time. This is what broke me of my habit on chewing things. But I was chewing on a purple pen one time, and it started leaking ink. And, the kind of leak where it just, spits out all of its ink, and that's it. And that's the life of the pen. But it was in my mouth.
What are you going to do?
Suddenly, Suddenly, I got this weird taste in my mouth, and, I was like, oh, what is that? And then there was purple ink all over my hands, and I was like, oh no. And I quickly put it in my desk. It was, the kind of desk with the pocket underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And I put it down there, and I, wiped my hands off. And then I had all this ink in my mouth that I just,
Oh, God.
And it was really gross, but I didn't chew on pins after that.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah.
So Budgie had a question earlier, and it was a really good question. I'm sorry I got derailed talking about chewing and my horrible chalk experience, which did nothing to deter me from chewing.
This live draw is brought to you by disgusting childhood habits.
Yeah, that could persist into adulthood, and I don't really think it's polite to call them disgusting so much as just habits.
The chalk thing was
pretty bad.
Pretty disgusting.
Yeah, well, you know what? I didn't spit it on anyone. So.
Okay, well, that's good on you for eating your shame.
So, let me find that question. Oh. Budgie asks, how did burning happen to Jackson's family? Was it Zora's fault they burnt? Was the shard split apart? So, I saw some nice theories about this in the comments, and since I'm being actively asked for a confirmation, I will confirm that it was both. So, Zora arrived in time to see the shard about to wreck Sammy. She struck it with lightning. As a lot of people have surmised, Zora is not like a surgeon with the lightning, okay? And it's lightning. Like, it's gonna cause more than just a little bit of damage. So, yeah, there were fires started after the fact that weren't immediately able to be put out because everyone was kind of in shock. Also, when you fry a shard like that, you get black, nasty stuff sprayed everywhere that's also burny and gross. So, hence the burning. But most of it would have come from the fire after the lightning, or just the lightning itself scorching things. A good question. Oh, poor
you know, I think that's actually my last picture.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to double check, but maybe finito.
Oh, Budgie asks, who is Cindy related to? She is Jackson's cousin. She's Tia's daughter. Was Tia's daughter. That will be confirmed later in the missing moment, but since I've mentioned it before in live rights, I don't mind confirming it now.
Oh, did you walk Rosie, David? Thank you. Yeah, that's it. That's it for the sketches. Do you guys have any... Hang on a sec, I'll wait until the crinkling stops. Do you guys have any final questions for us?
What?
Was that what you were asking me to say?
No.
No? What
No.
did you say?
No.
I'm sorry, I'm really bad at reading lips.
Okay. Budgie says, that's what I thought, but she seems less broken up than someone who just lost a daughter would be. She's trying to do anything she can to keep her mind off of it. And, like, people cope with grief in a lot of different ways. Just, yeah.
And she was, crying without even realizing she was crying. I think she's, really distressed even if she feels like she's hiding it, like it's not really possible for her to.
There's also, like, something to think about. A lot of people have guessed this in the comments, and I also don't really feel super bad confirming it, but a lot of people notice that Zora, she's asking, why did the shard come after y'all? Why didn't it come after me? She was theoretically close enough that it should have come after her. She is one of the most powerful witches mentioned thus far in the comic. Or is she? The reason that the shard attacks the camp is because it's coming after Jackson. And so Tia has a lot to take in here. Like, she loves Jackson just as much as she loved her own daughter, and has helped essentially raise Jackson from infancy. Zora is often gone.
And she was taking care of Jackson before Cindy. So in a way, she's almost like her first daughter.
Exactly. And how would, first, you have you have Zora, who's blaming herself for this, who has not yet realized just why the shard attacked the camp. She hasn't realized it. Tia has. And when you think of it that way, she can either be really, like, of course she's upset that she has just lost her daughter. There's no way around that. But Tia can also, at least at this point, segment it into these ideas that she still has one of her children. She did not lose everyone. And the person that inadvertently caused this is still there and still needs to be treasured. Like, Tia is able to see and react the way so many people are not able to in this world. They're able to realize that even if this shard was drawn to someone that they really care about who has magic, like, it's not that person's fault. She's able to still realize, okay, I should be happy with what I have. Pushing them away isn't going to do anything but leave me more and more alone. And maybe she's not consciously thinking about all of these things, but, you know, in that moment, what she is thinking is, at least some of my family is left. And I'm going to do whatever I can to try to make them feel better about this. Budgie asks, was Jackson there when the attack happened? I thought she was with Zora and Tia. So Zora was gone. Zora was not with the caravan when the attack happened. She was close by, but she had been away prior to it. A lot of people also guessed this is directly following the events of the missing moment where Zora helps Clementine, and where she meets Abraham and Clementine in the woods and helps Clementine with the very start of her training. So that's what's going on there. She comes back. Jackson did, in fact, see the attack. It's kind of implied when, you know, she knows exactly when Zora came back and stopped the shard. She saw it trying to eat Sammy. Any other questions? Really good questions.
Mm-hmm.
When Laura and I were planning out the missing moments for this chapter, I was really excited at the idea of getting to, like, not only show but just canonize more of Jackson's backstory, because Jackson, like, Laura mentioned it toward the start of the missing moment, but Jackson has not had, like, a featured missing moment in years because we've been focusing on other arcs.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, she deserves to have some spotlight, so I'm glad. You know, she's had some action in the comic, don't get me wrong, but in the missing moments, not as much.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to be able to show more of that, to show more of her backstory, and just explore her character some more, because Jackson's great.
She is great.
And I love writing in her voice.
I really love reading her in your voice and just, like, all of the family around her.
Yeah. Matt says, I've been running around Discord and here. I haven't had any time for questions.
Oh.
Budgie says, I'd just like to say I really like the fact that Jackson and Gabrielle are friends.
That was Laura's idea, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That was a really good idea.
You have our editor to thank for that one. Budgie says, are we going to see more of their relationship? I think so. In this chapter upcoming, you're going to see more of Jackson. You're going to see a lot more of Gabrielle. We'll take a couple more questions if there are any, and then we're going to say goodnight. The stream has been pretty non-buggy this time. There was that little hiccup.
Mm-hmm.
Matt says, I have a question. Go for it, dear heart.
Rosie, no. Why isn't her thing beeping?
Oh no.
It's on. There, I've set it to maximum sensitivity. Go on. Go on.
Go on. These pants still get blue all over everything.
I think that we should end this.
Oh, Matt says he has a question.
Okay, in just like a second though, because it's still recording and there's no drawing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, it doesn't hurt to answer a couple questions.
Well, maybe I can stop the recording if we'll be here a while more.
Okay. Okay, I guess that's true. Sorry, David, I can move
So, for those of you who are joining us live, we'll stay on just a couple more minutes to answer a few more questions. And for those of you watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us. And please check out our channel and favorite and like and whatever, you know, YouTubers say at the end of the video.
Here.
Click to subscribe.
Well, what we should say is spread the gospel.
Yeah, spread the good news, y'all. And see you next time.
Do we want to sing goodnight?
Yes. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. Uh-oh, the program seems to have frozen.
Great. Singing about not